A millionaire mocked a humble saleswoman when she tried to give him financial advice. Customers nearby laughed until she quietly said one sentence that made his smile vanish. His hands froze mid-gesture as everyone around them fell completely silent. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The air inside Kronos Sons felt expensive. It was quiet, like a library, and smelled of leather and polish. A man in a perfect black suit stood at the glass counter. He did not look at the other people in the store. "I am here for the Eternitas piece," the man said. His voice was flat. The saleswoman behind the counter was older, with soft white hair. Her name tag said Eleanor. She smiled. "Of course, Mr. Sterling. We have been expecting you." She turned and took a small case from the shelf behind her. She placed it on a velvet cloth. When she opened the case, the watch inside caught the light. It had many small diamonds around the face. "A beautiful choice," Eleanor said. She handled the watch with careful hands. "Only 10 were made." Blake Sterling did not smile. He looked at the watch like it was a report. "The transaction is already prepared. My assistant sent the wire." "I see that," Eleanor said. She finished the paperwork. She slid a receipt across the counter to him. Then she placed the watch into a heavy box. As she handed it to him, she spoke softly. "It is a very shiny thing, but remember, true value is in things that grow over a lifetime, not just in things that shine for a moment." Blake stared at her. Then a short, hard laugh came out of him. He looked at her simple dress and her old, clean cardigan. "Things that grow?" he said, his voice louder now. Other customers in the store looked over. "You are telling me about value? This watch costs $250,000. That is more than you will see in 10 years. You talk of growing things while you wear clothes from a thrift store. You do not understand my world." The other people, all dressed in fine clothes, smiled among themselves. They looked at Eleanor with pity. Eleanor did not look away. She did not become angry. Her blue eyes were calm. "You are right, Mr. Sterling," she said, her voice still gentle. "I do not know about your world of wires and transactions. My portfolio is different. It is my memories. Every share I own is a moment with someone I love. That is the only wealth that has never lost value for me." The quiet in the store became very deep. The smiling faces of the other customers froze. Blake's arrogant smile vanished. His mouth felt dry. Her words did not feel like words. They felt like a door slamming open in a silent room. Suddenly, he could hear the hollow quiet of his penthouse apartment at the top of his tower. He could see the empty chairs at his long dining table. He could feel the cold weight of every handshake that was only about money. The shiny watch in its box suddenly looked very small. Blake picked up the box and the receipt. He did not say another word. He turned and walked out of the store, his expensive shoes clicking on the marble floor. The warm Chicago air outside felt heavy. He got into his waiting car. "Back to the office, sir?" his driver asked. Blake did not answer. He was looking at the watch box in his hands. He opened it. The watch was perfect. It was a machine of incredible precision. He put it on his wrist. The metal was cold. He thought about the old woman's face. He thought about her words. Asterisk. "My portfolio is my memories." For a man who believed every person and everything had a price, these words made no sense. They were a puzzle he could not solve. And they made the cold, polished world inside his car feel like a shell, an empty, echoing shell where the only sound was the quiet ticking of a $250,000 watch that told him nothing about what time it was in his own life. The watch ticked on his wrist through the night. Blake Sterling lay in the center of his very large bed in his very quiet penthouse. He stared at the dark ceiling. He tried to sleep. He could not. The feeling would not leave. It was a cold, heavy feeling in his chest. It was the same as the feeling of the watch on his skin. He held his arm up. The diamonds on the watch face caught the light from the city outside his window. They sparkled. They were worth more than many people's homes. They felt like nothing. He saw the old woman's face, Eleanor. He heard her calm voice. "My portfolio is my memories." "What does that mean?" he said out loud to the empty room. His voice was a rough whisper. It was a business question. He needed data. He needed to understand the variable. But there was no data, only a feeling. He sat up. He looked at the clock. It was 2 in the morning. He never had trouble sleeping. Sleep was a necessary function for peak performance. This was an unacceptable system error. He walked to his kitchen. It was all steel and stone. He poured a glass of water but did not drink it. He looked out over the lights of Chicago. He owned a piece of this view. He owned many pieces. But the hollow feeling grew. True value is in things that grow. He had built an empire. He had grown money from nothing. That was growth. That was value, wasn't it? The watch ticked. It was a tiny, insistent sound in the vast silence. When the sun came up, Blake was already dressed. His suit was perfect. His tie was straight, but his eyes had dark circles underneath them. He left the penthouse without eating. His driver, Marcus, was waiting. "The office, sir?" Marcus asked. "No," Blake said. He got into the car. "Kronos and Sons, the watch store." "Is there a problem with the timepiece, sir?" "Just drive." The store was just opening when they arrived. A young man in a suit was unlocking the glass door. Blake walked past him. "Sir, we are not quite—" "Where is she?" Blake asked. His voice was sharper than he intended. The young man blinked. "I'm sorry?" "The woman, Eleanor. She was here yesterday." "Oh, Mrs. Finch. She only works part-time, Wednesdays and Fridays. Today is Thursday. She won't be in." A strange panic tightened in Blake's chest. It was a quick, hot feeling. It felt like a missed deadline, a lost deal. "I need to speak with her." "I can take a message for her," the young man offered, smiling politely. "No." Blake turned and walked out. The panic was still there. It did not make sense. She was just an old saleswoman. Her words were just words. But he needed to see her. He needed to make the feeling stop. Back in the car, he took out his phone. He called his assistant, Sarah. "Sarah, I need you to find someone. A woman named Eleanor Finch. She works at Kronos and Sons. I need her address, everything you can find." There was a short pause on the other end. Sarah was very good. She never asked why, but this was different. "Personal or professional, Mr. Sterling?" Blake hesitated. "It's a follow-up on a service issue." The lie felt clumsy. "I'll see what I can find," Sarah said. Her tone was careful. The information came to his email in less than an hour. Eleanor Finch, age 80. Widow. Last known address, an apartment building on South King Drive in the Bronzeville neighborhood. There was no other data, no credit profile of interest, no portfolio, just an address. Bronzeville. He knew the name. It was not a place he ever went. "Take me here," he said to Marcus, showing him the address on his phone. Marcus's eyes flickered to the mirror. "Are you sure, sir? That area is—" "I am sure," Blake snapped. The drive was quiet. The buildings changed. The shiny glass towers of downtown became older brick buildings. There were more people walking. There were trees and faded signs for local businesses. Blake watched it all through the tinted window. He felt like he was in a different city. The car stopped in front of a red brick building. It was 6 stories tall. It looked clean, but old. There were flower pots by the front door. "Wait here," Blake said. He got out. The air smelled different here. Not like polish and money. It smelled of dirt and growing things and someone cooking food nearby. He felt every eye on him. His suit cost more than most cars on this street. He was a black spot of ink on a different colored page. He did not know what he was doing. He walked to the front door of the building. There was a panel of buzzers with names. He found Finch, apartment 4BA. His finger hovered over the buzzer. What would he say? Asterisk. "Your words broke my sleep. Make it stop." He did not press it. He stepped back. He looked around. A narrow paved path led to the back of the building. For no reason he could name, he followed it. The path opened into a small, sunny square of land behind the building. It was full of life. Wooden boxes and old buckets were filled with dark soil. Green plants grew in rows. Tomato plants on sticks, leafy greens, herbs. And there, kneeling in the dirt, wearing a large sun hat and gloves, was Eleanor Finch. She was gently patting soil around a small plant. She looked up. She was not surprised. She smiled her warm, wrinkled smile as if she had been expecting him. "Hello, Mr. Sterling," she said. "I wondered if you would come." Blake stood on the paved path, the sun warm on his back. He did not know what to say. He looked at his clean shoes, then at the dark soil of the garden. He felt very large and very out of place. "You wondered?" he finally said. Eleanor nodded. She slowly got to her feet, brushing dirt from her knees. "Some words are seeds, Mr. Sterling. They either take root or they don't. Yours to me were one kind, mine to you were another." She tilted her head. "Why are you here?" Blake looked around the garden. He saw other small plots with signs: Theo's tomatoes, Marta's peppers. This was not his world. He needed to fix the strange feeling in his chest. He needed to solve this problem. "Your words were inefficient," he stated. "They created an unresolved query. You said your wealth was memories, with family." "I did," Eleanor said. She picked up a small watering can. "Explain the statement," Blake said. It sounded like a command from a business meeting. Eleanor smiled a little. She began to water the base of her plants. "My husband's name was Arthur. He was a history teacher. He passed away 10 years ago. My son David was a doctor. He worked at a clinic right here in Bronzeville. He is gone too." Blake listened. He processed the data. Widow, deceased son. "I see. And this is your portfolio? Memories of the dead?" "Not just the dead," Eleanor said, her voice soft but clear. "The living too. My granddaughter, Lily. She is an artist, a very good one. She studies at the art school downtown. But art school costs a great deal of money, more money than a retired teacher has." She said this not with sadness, but as a simple fact. A solution clicked in Blake's mind. It was clean. It was fast. This was a problem he knew how to fix. The heavy feeling in his chest could be erased with one action. "How much?" he asked. Eleanor stopped watering. "How much what?" "For the tuition, the full amount. What is the number?" Understanding dawned on Eleanor's face. Her gentle expression did not change, but her eyes became more serious. "Mr. Sterling." Blake was already reaching into the inner pocket of his suit jacket. He pulled out a small leather-bound checkbook and a pen. "Tell me the number. I will write the check right now. Today. The problem will be gone." He stood there, pen poised. This was the language he understood, a transaction, an exchange of money for a solution. He would pay, the guilt or the confusion or whatever this was would be settled, and he could go back to his life. Eleanor looked at the checkbook. She did not look at the money it represented. She looked at his face. "You cannot buy a connection, Mr. Sterling," she said quietly. "You have to build it." Blake's hand froze. He stared at her. "That is not logical. You state a financial problem. I am providing a financial solution. This is how the world works." "Is it?" she asked. "If I take that money from you, what do we have? You have less money. I have more. But we do not have a relationship. We do not have trust. We have a transaction, and transactions end." She shook her head slowly. "Lily's education is not a product. It is a part of our story. You cannot just walk into the middle of someone's story and buy a chapter." Blake slowly lowered the checkbook. His mind raced, but it found no purchase. Her rules made no sense. "So you would let her struggle when I could fix it?" "I would let us find our own way," Eleanor said. "Maybe it takes longer, maybe it is harder, but it will be our way, built by us. That has value your check does not." A man from a nearby plot walked over. He was older, with a friendly face. "Everything all right, Ellie?" "Everything's fine, Sam," Eleanor said, smiling. "This is Mr. Sterling. He is considering the value of things." Sam looked at Blake's suit and nodded. "Well, the soil doesn't care what you wear, only that you show up." He went back to his work. Blake put the checkbook back in his pocket. The heavy feeling was not gone. It was worse. He had offered the solution, and it had been rejected. He was holding the wrong currency. "I do not understand," he said, and his voice sounded less sure than it ever did in his boardroom. "I know," Eleanor said softly. She picked up a small trowel and held it out to him, handle first. "Understanding takes time. It takes getting your hands dirty. You can start by helping me weed this row, or you can go back to your car." Blake looked at the trowel. He looked at his crisp white shirt cuff. He looked at Eleanor's steady, waiting eyes. For the first time in a very long time, Blake Sterling had no idea what the correct next move was. The metal of the trowel felt strange in Blake Sterling's hand. It was not the weight of a pen or the smooth surface of a phone. It was cold and rough. He knelt on the ground, a folded handkerchief from his pocket under his knee to protect his suit pants. He looked at the row of plants Eleanor had pointed to. "Which ones are the weeds?" he asked. "The ones you did not plant," she said simply, kneeling beside him. She showed him with her own trowel, digging gently around a small unwanted plant and pulling it from the roots. Like that. Blake mimicked her movements. His first attempt took a chunk of soil and a good tomato seedling with it. "Gently," Eleanor said. "You are not signing a contract. You are having a conversation with the soil." He tried again, more carefully. He focused on the task. For a few minutes, the only sound was the dirt and the distant city. The heavy feeling in his chest was still there, but it was quieter, pushed aside by the focus of his hands. "You come here often?" Blake asked, not looking up. "3 times a week, more in the summer. It is my church, my social club, and my grocery store," Eleanor said. "Sam, over there, he grows the best hot peppers. Marta brings her grandchildren to help on Saturdays. We share what we grow." Blake listened. He looked at the other people in the garden. An older man waved at Eleanor. A woman called out a question about watering times. There was a pattern here, a network. It was inefficient by his standards, but it functioned. "So this is your other wealth," he said. "These people." "They are my community," Eleanor corrected softly. A new voice cut through the air, sharp and clear. "Nana, who is this?" Blake looked up. A young woman was standing at the edge of the garden path. She was tall, with bright, intelligent eyes that were currently narrowed in suspicion. She wore paint-splattered jeans and a faded sweatshirt. Her curly hair was pulled into a messy bundle on top of her head. She held a canvas bag full of art supplies. "Lily, hello," Eleanor said, her face lighting up. "This is Mr. Sterling. He is visiting." Lily did not smile. She walked over, her eyes fixed on Blake's kneeling form, his expensive suit, the absurd handkerchief under his knee. She looked like she had found a poisonous insect in her favorite patch of flowers. "Visiting," Lily repeated. She looked at her grandmother. "Why?" "He is interested in the garden," Eleanor said, her tone peaceful. Lily's eyes snapped back to Blake. "Really? What's your interest? Tax deductions? Corporate social responsibility photo ops?" Blake stood up, brushing dirt from his hands. He was used to aggression, but this was different. It was personal. "I offered your grandmother a check for your tuition. She refused." The words hung in the air. Lily's face went from suspicious to outright angry. She took a step closer to him. "You did what?" Her voice was low and tight. She turned to Eleanor. "Nana, is that true?" "It is," Eleanor said calmly. "And I said no. We talked about it." Lily whirled back to Blake. "You walk in here with your checkbook and think you can fix our lives? You think we're a charity project?" She shook her head. "I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to leave my grandmother alone. We don't want your money. We don't want you here." "Lily," Eleanor said, a note of gentle warning in her voice. "No, Nana. Look at him." Lily gestured at Blake's entire appearance. "He doesn't belong here. He's from a different planet. A planet where everything has a price tag. People like him don't just show up in community gardens. They want something." Blake met her fierce gaze. He was not used to being spoken to this way. He was used to fear or deference. "I do not want anything. Everyone wants something," Lily shot back. "Even if it's just to feel better about yourself. Well, you can't buy that here. So why don't you go back to your tower and leave us alone?" She shouldered her bag, gave Blake one last fiery look, and kissed her grandmother on the cheek. "I'm going upstairs. Call me if you need me." She walked quickly toward the apartment building, not looking back. Blake stood in silence. The garden felt different now. The warmth from the other people felt directed inward, a circle he was firmly outside of. Sam, the neighbor, was watching him, his expression unreadable. Marta had stopped her work to listen. Eleanor picked up her trowel again. "She is protective," she said. "It comes from love." "She hates me," Blake stated. It was a fact. "She does not know you. She sees a symbol, money, power, interference." Eleanor dug her trowel into the soil. "It will take time for her to see a man." Blake looked down at the dirt on his hands. He looked at the closed door of the apartment building where Lily had gone. He looked at the small community of people who belonged here, who shared food and time. He had offered the one thing he thought had universal value, and it had been thrown back in his face twice, by a gentle old woman and her angry granddaughter. For the first time, he clearly saw the vast, empty space where his own community should be. He had employees. He had contacts. He had no one who would defend him with that much fire. No one who would ever say, "Leave him alone." He had no one at all. The following Wednesday, Blake Sterling went back to the garden. He did not call first, he simply arrived. He wore an old pair of gray trousers and a simple white shirt, but he still looked like he was dressed for a different world. Sam, the neighbor, looked up from his pepper plants. "Back again?" Blake nodded. Yes. Eleanor was there, tying a tomato plant to a wooden stake. She smiled when she saw him. "Good morning." "Good morning," Blake said. He stood unsure. "What needs to be done?" Eleanor pointed to a bag of mulch. "You can spread that around the bases of the plants in this row, not too thick." Blake got to work. He used a small shovel to move the mulch. He was careful. He did not speak much. He listened to Eleanor talk with Sam about the weather. He listened to Marta complain about rabbits eating her lettuce. He said nothing. After about an hour, Eleanor stood up from weeding. She swayed. She put a hand out to steady herself on the garden fence. "Ellie?" Sam said, his voice sharp. Eleanor's face had lost its color. She looked confused. "I just feel a little lightheaded." Her words were slow. Before Blake could move, her legs gave out. She sat down hard on the dirt path, a soft thud. "Eleanor!" Blake's voice was louder than he intended. He dropped the shovel and was at her side in 2 strides. Sam was already there, kneeling. "Ellie, talk to me," Sam said, taking her hand. I am all right," Eleanor whispered, but her breathing was quick and shallow. "Just dizzy." "No, you're not," Sam said firmly. He looked at Blake. "My phone is in my pocket. Call 911. Now." Blake fumbled for the phone. His hands, usually so steady, felt clumsy. He made the call. He gave the address. His voice was flat and clear, reciting data. Inside, he felt a cold panic. The ambulance arrived quickly. The paramedics put Eleanor on a stretcher. They asked Sam questions about her medical history. "She has a heart condition," Sam said. "She takes medication for it." Blake stood frozen, watching. He did not know she had a heart condition. One of the paramedics turned to him. "Are you family?" Blake opened his mouth. "No, I am a friend." "We're taking her to Chicago General," the paramedic said, and they loaded the stretcher into the ambulance. "I will follow," Blake said. He did not think. He just moved. He got into his car, which was parked around the front. "Chicago General Hospital. Fast," he told Marcus. At the hospital emergency entrance, Blake saw the ambulance doors close as he pulled up. He went straight to the busy front desk. Eleanor Finch, she was just brought in by ambulance. The woman behind the desk typed. "They're assessing her. The waiting room is down that hall to the left. A doctor will come out when there is news." Blake walked to the waiting room. It was full of people with worried faces. He saw a flash of color, paint-splattered jeans. Lily was already there, talking to a nurse. When the nurse walked away, Lily turned and saw Blake. Her face, already pale with fear, twisted into pure rage. She marched across the room and stopped right in front of him. "You!" she hissed. People looked over. "What did you do?" "I did nothing," Blake said. "She became dizzy. We called the ambulance." **. Lily's eyes were bright with tears and anger. "You have been hounding her, showing up at her home, stressing her out with your bizarre presence. She didn't need your weird billionaire guilt visits. She has a heart condition. Did you know that? Of course you didn't. You just barge in." "Lily, Blake started. "No," she said, her voice breaking. She pointed a trembling finger at the door. "You don't get to be here. You don't get to pretend you're part of this. This is because of you, your stress, your pressure. Get out. I don't want you near her." A nurse approached. "Miss Finch, you can come back for a moment. One person only." Lily gave Blake a final, scorching look. "You stay away." Then she followed the nurse through the double doors, leaving Blake alone. He stood there for a full minute. Then he slowly sat down in a plastic chair. He looked around. Sam from the garden arrived, out of breath. He was let back to see Eleanor. An older woman, maybe a friend, arrived and was greeted by others with hugs. Blake sat alone. He watched a family across the room, A man, a woman, two children. They held each other's hands. They spoke in soft tones. They shared a box of tissues. He saw Lily return after a while. Her friend put an arm around her. They sat close, talking, their heads together. No one looked at Blake. No one spoke to him. He had no right to be there. He was the cause, not the comfort. The cold, heavy feeling from the first night returned, worse than ever. It filled his chest, his throat. He had never felt so powerless. He had all the money in the world, and it could not buy him a single place in that circle of chairs. It could not buy him one word of comfort, or one right to stay. He was, for the first time since he was a poor boy in Pittsburgh, utterly poor. The silence of Blake's office was a different kind of quiet than the hospital waiting room. Here, it was a choice. It was control. He sat at his immense desk, made of a single piece of dark wood. He did not turn on his computer. On the wall across from him were framed photographs. One was of his super yacht, the lucrative a white ship on blue water. Another was of a skyscraper with his company's name at the top. Another was of a race car he owned. They were trophies. They were proof. They looked like nothing now. They were flat images of dead things. His assistant Sarah knocked and entered. She held a tablet. "The reports from the Singapore meeting are ready for your review. Also, Damien Cole called 3 times. He says it's urgent." Blake did not look at her. He looked at the photograph of the yacht. "What is the current market value of the lucrative asterisk?" Sarah paused. This was not the expected topic. The yacht, sir? Approximately $120 million, maybe more. The market is strong." "Sell it," Blake said. Sarah stood very still. "Sir?" "Sell it. All of it. The yacht, the art collection in the lower lobby, the vintage car portfolio. Liquidate them. I want the cash available in a dedicated account as soon as possible." Sarah's professional mask slipped for a second. "May I ask, what is the purpose? Is this for an acquisition?" "It is for a foundation," Blake said. The word felt strange in his mouth. "The Finch Garden and Arts Fund. It will provide permanent funding for a community garden in Bronzeville and establish a free arts education program for children there. The program will be run by Lily Finch." Sarah stared at him. "You're selling the lucrative for a community garden?" "Yes," Blake said. He finally looked at her. His eyes were tired but clear. "Start the process now. Use the firm in Monaco. I want it done quickly and quietly." Sarah, trained for years not to question, simply nodded. "Yes, sir." She left the office, her steps quieter than usual. Blake picked up his phone. He scrolled to a number and dialed. A cheerful voice answered. "Martin here. Ready for the Mediterranean trip next month, Blake?" "Martin, cancel all future charters for the lucrative asterisk. The boat is being sold." There was a long silence on the other end. "Sold, Blake? It's the best vessel in the fleet. Is there a problem?" "No problem," Blake said. "My interests have changed." He ended the call. He then dialed another number, his lawyer, Benjamin Ross. "Blake, to what do I owe?" "I need you to draft founding documents for a nonprofit foundation," Blake interrupted. He gave the name and the purpose. "The initial funding will be approximately $150 million. The director of the arts program will have full control over the program's creative direction. Her name is Lily Finch. I will be on the board, but I do not have veto power over her decisions." Another long silence. "Blake, this is highly unorthodox. That level of funding for a local garden and ceding control to an unknown party. Your board will have questions. The shareholders—" "This is not a company matter," Blake said, his voice firm. "This is a personal transaction. Draft the papers. Make it ironclad so the fund lasts forever." He spent the next 2 days in a whirlwind of phone calls and quiet chaos. News leaked. The financial blogs began to buzz with the story. Sterling sells crown jewel. Billionaire dumps yacht for urban garden. Has Blake Sterling lost his edge? His phone rang constantly. He ignored it. He worked with a focus he usually reserved for hostile takeovers. 1 week after Eleanor entered the hospital, Blake stood outside her apartment building again. He held a simple black folder. Lily opened the door. She looked tired, but the fire in her eyes was back. "She's home. She's resting," Lily said coldly. "What do you want?" "To show you something," Blake said. He held out the folder. Lily did not take it. I don't want your paperwork. It is not for me. It is for the garden and for the children you teach at the community center. He placed the folder on the small table by the door. It is the plan for the Finch Garden and Arts Fund. It provides permanent money for the garden's water, soil, tools, and a full-time coordinator. It also creates a year-round free art program with supplies, teachers, and exhibition space. You would be the director. You would choose everything. Lily stared at the folder like it was a snake. What's the catch? What do you get? Nothing, Blake said. He met her suspicious gaze. I sold my boat to pay for it. The money is already in a trust. It cannot be taken back. You can say no, and the fund will still exist. Someone else will run it. Lily's anger faltered. She looked confused. You sold your... Why? Blake thought of the plastic hospital chair, the feeling of being outside the circle. Because I had the wrong things. He nodded toward the folder. Read it, or don't. He turned and walked away. Back in his car, he did not tell Marcus to drive. He sat, waiting. He felt empty, but it was not the old cold emptiness. It was a quiet space. He had torn down a giant, shiny piece of his old life. He did not know what would grow in its place. After 20 minutes, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. It's Lily. The plan. It's exactly what we need, but I'm running it my way. Blake. Yes, Lily. I don't trust you. Blake. I know. He put the phone down. For the first time, he felt something that was not a transaction. It was the bare, fragile beginning of something real, and it was terrifying. The next Saturday morning, Blake arrived at the garden at 8 o'clock. He wore old jeans and a plain t-shirt. They were new clothes, but they were simple. Lily was already there, unrolling a long hose. She looked him up and down. The soil doesn't care what you wear, she said, echoing Sam's words from before. I know, Blake said. We're building new raised beds today, Lily said, pointing to a pile of fresh lumber and bags of soil. Sam is bringing the tools. You can move the bags. They're heavy. Blake nodded. He walked to the pile. He lifted the first 50-pound bag of soil onto his shoulder. He carried it to the spot Lily had marked with string. He went back for another, and another. He did not speak. He worked. Sam arrived with a toolbox. He watched Blake for a moment. You're going to ruin your back, son. Use the wheelbarrow. He pointed to a rusty wheelbarrow against the fence. Blake had not thought of that. He loaded 4 bags into the wheelbarrow and pushed it. It was harder than it looked. By 10 in the morning, they had the frames for 3 new garden beds built. Blake's hands had 2 new blisters. His shirt was stained with sweat and dirt. He drank water from a paper cup. A group of children arrived, led by a woman from the community center. They were the first students for the new art program. Lily's face changed when she saw them. The hard, suspicious look softened. Okay, everyone, gather round. Today we're drawing the garden, Lily said. She handed out clipboards with paper and boxes of colored pencils. Find something alive and draw it. A plant, a bug, a bird. Look closely. The kids scattered. One little boy, who introduced himself as Miguel, sat on the ground near the new lumber. He looked at Blake, who was now shoveling soil into the new bed. What are you drawing, Miguel? Lily asked, kneeling beside him. I'm drawing the giant, Miguel said seriously. Lily followed his gaze. He was drawing Blake. In the picture, Blake was very tall, with a big smile. He was using a huge shovel to pour dirt onto tiny, smiling flowers. Blake stopped working when he realized they were talking about him. He walked over slowly. Can I see? Blake asked. Miguel held up the drawing. It's you. You're the giant who helps the garden grow. Blake looked at the childish drawing. The figure had a big, happy smile. It did not look like him. He never smiled like that. But in the drawing, he did. It is a very good drawing, Blake said. His voice was quiet. You can have it, Miguel said, tearing the page from his clipboard. Blake took the paper carefully, holding it by the edges. Thank you. He went back to shoveling. He did not know what to do with the feeling in his chest. It was warm. It was not a transaction. No one paid for the drawing. It was a gift. At the end of the day, the beds were full of fresh soil. The children had left. Lily was coiling the hose. You came back, she said, not looking at him. You said to move the bags. The job was not finished, Blake said. It's never finished, Lily said. That's the point of a garden. There's always more to do. She paused. Miguel's mom says he hasn't stopped talking about the garden giant. He was happy today. Blake wiped his dirty hands on his jeans. I am glad. Lily looked at him, really looked at him. The anger in her eyes was still there, but it was mixed with something else. Curiosity. Why are you really doing this? The hard work, getting dirty. You could have just written the check and left. Blake thought about the question. He looked at the drawing in his hand, now smudged with dirt. A check is just a paper. It is easy. This, he gestured to the garden, to his dirty clothes. This is not easy. It is real. I am trying to build something real. Lily was silent for a long moment. Then she gave a single, slow nod. The art program starts for real next Tuesday. We need someone to help move tables, if you're not busy. It was not an apology. It was not friendship. It was an offer to do more work. I will be here, Blake said. Back in his office that evening, the cleaning woman had come. Everything was spotless. The empty space on the wall where the yacht photograph had hung was a clean, white rectangle. Blake sat at his desk. He took the wrinkled, dirty drawing from Miguel. He smoothed it out. He looked at the smiling giant. He found a single pushpin in his drawer. He walked to the clean, white wall. He pressed the pin through the top of the drawing and fastened it right in the center of the empty space. He sat back down. The drawing looked small and simple on the big, blank wall, but it was the only thing in the room that felt alive. The drawing of the garden giant was still on the wall when Damien Cole walked into Blake's office 2 days later. He did not knock. Damien was a young man, maybe 30 years old. He wore a suit that was almost as perfect as Blake's used to be. His smile was sharp. Blake, or should I call you the patron saint of community gardens now? Damien said. He looked around the office, his eyes lingering on the childish drawing. He smirked. Blake did not stand up. What do you want, Damien? To talk, man to man, or should I say businessman to whatever you are now. Damien sat down in the chair across from the desk without being invited. Selling the yacht was a nice dramatic touch. The news people loved it. My investors, however, are concerned. Your investors are not my concern, Blake said. They are when your little midlife crisis makes our whole industry look emotional and unstable, Damien said, his fake smile gone. You built Sterling Capital on being cold, on being smart, the Iceman. Now you're playing in the dirt? It's embarrassing. I did not ask for your opinion, Blake said, his voice low. You're going to hear it, Damien shot back. He leaned forward. Here is the real talk. Shut down this foundation. Give the money back to your company. Come back to the real world. Do a big, flashy deal. Show everyone you're still Blake Sterling. No, Blake said. Damien's eyes hardened. He was like a reflection of Blake from 5 years ago, ruthless, hungry, seeing everything as a game to win. I thought you'd say that, so I brought a persuasive argument. He took a thin, plain folder from his briefcase and slid it across the desk. What is this? Blake asked. Open it. Blake opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, bank transfer records, and contracts from 8 years ago. The North Point development deal. Blake's stomach turned cold. He remembered. It was one of his first huge deals. He had bribed a city official to change zoning laws. He had hidden the money through shell companies. It was illegal. It had made him his first $50 million. How did you get these? Blake's voice was a whisper. I learned from the best, Damien said, a cruel smile on his face. I was your assistant on that deal, remember? You let me file the papers. I made copies. I was always a careful student. Blake looked at the papers. The evidence was clear. It could send him to prison. It would destroy his company. It would take all his money in fines. The statute of limitations hasn't run out on this, Damien said calmly. If I send these to the right people, you will be investigated. You will be charged. You will lose everything. The garden fund, this office, your freedom, all of it. The room felt very small. Blake could hear the clock ticking. What is your price? Blake asked, the old habit of transactional thinking kicking in. It's not about money, Damien said, standing up. It's about order. You're making a mess. You're telling everyone that the things we built, the things *U* taught me to build, are worthless. That is bad for business. My business. He walked toward the door. So here is the choice, The easy choice. You publicly end the Finch Foundation. You say it was a failed experiment. You come back to the board, you refocus on profits, you stay the Iceman. If you do that, these papers stay in my safe. He stopped at the door and looked back. If you don't, I release everything. You go to jail, your garden and your little art friends get nothing but bad headlines. You have 48 hours to decide. Damien left, closing the door softly behind him. Blake sat alone. He stared at the damning papers on his desk. Then he looked up at the drawing on the wall. The smiling giant helping the flowers grow. He had built his entire life, his fortress of money and power, on secrets like the one in that folder. He thought he had left that person behind, but the past was not gone. It was here, in black and white. Protecting the garden and Lily and Eleanor meant letting that past come out. It meant losing the very things that had let him help them in the first place. He put his head in his hands. For the first time, he had something real to lose, and the cost to keep it was everything. The papers from Damien Cole sat on the passenger seat of Blake's car. He drove without seeing the streets. He did not go to his office. He did not go home. He drove to Bronzeville. Eleanor was sitting on a bench in the garden, enjoying the late afternoon sun. Lily was nearby, sketching in a notebook. They both looked up as Blake walked toward them. He was still in his suit, but his tie was loose. He carried the plain folder. "You look like you have seen a ghost," Eleanor said softly. "It is worse than a ghost," Blake said. He stopped in front of them. He felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff. "I have a problem." Lily closed her sketchbook. Her eyes were wary. "What kind of problem?" Blake held out the folder. "A man named Damien Cole. He used to work for me. He has evidence of crimes I committed years ago to make money, bribery, fraud. If this becomes public, I will be prosecuted. I will lose my company. I will likely go to prison." Lily took the folder. She opened it and looked at the pages. Her face grew serious. Eleanor watched Blake, her expression calm. "This man," Eleanor asked, "what does he want?" "He wants me to shut down the foundation, to call it a failed experiment, to come back to my old life and my old business. If I do that, he will keep these papers secret." "And if you don't?" Lily asked, looking up from the documents. "He will release them. Everything will be gone. The foundation too. There will be no money left, only scandal." The air in the garden was still. Blake waited for their reaction. He expected anger. He expected Lily to say, "I told you so." He expected Eleanor to be disappointed. Lily closed the folder. She handed it back to him. "So what are you going to do?" The question surprised him. I came to tell you, so you would know what might happen." "We know now," Lily said. Her voice was steady. "What do you want to do?" Blake looked from Lily to Eleanor. "I want to protect the garden. I want the art program to continue. I do not want to go back to my old life." "Then the choice is simple," Eleanor said. Her voice was quiet but clear. "You cannot protect something real with a lie. A foundation built on a secret is not a foundation. It is a trap." "But if I tell the truth, I lose everything," Blake said. The fear was a cold knot in his stomach. "Do you?" Eleanor asked. She looked around the garden, at the new beds they had built, at the children's drawings pinned to a community board. "What do you have here right now?" Blake followed her gaze. He saw Sam watering his peppers. He saw Miguel's drawing of the garden giant on the board. He saw Lily's sketchbook full of plans for the art studio. He felt the blisters on his hands from shoveling soil. "I have this," he said. "And if you go back to your old office and obey that man, will you have this?" Eleanor asked. "No," Blake whispered. "Then you have already chosen," Eleanor said. "You are just afraid of the price." Lily stood up. She looked at Blake, and for the first time, there was no suspicion in her eyes. There was something harder, respect. "He's trying to scare you back into your cage, the cage you built yourself. Are you going to let him?" Blake looked at the folder in his hands. It held the evidence of the man he used to be, a man who built cages of money and called them kingdoms. He thought of the hospital waiting room, the plastic chair, the feeling of being outside. He was inside the circle now. It was small, and it was fragile, and it asked him to be brave. He looked at Lily. "If I do this, the foundation's money might be taken. The program might end." "We'll find a way," Lily said. "We did before you got here, but we can't find a way if you're living a lie." That will poison everything eventually. Blake took a deep breath. The cold knot of fear was still there, but it was not alone. A new feeling was there too, a solid feeling. It felt like the soil under his feet. "Okay," he said. The word was simple. It was the most difficult word he had ever said. "Okay," Lily echoed, giving a single nod. Eleanor reached out and gently patted his hand. "Then you know what to do next." The room was full of noise, camera flashes, the rustle of reporters shifting in their seats, the low murmur of voices. Blake Sterling stood behind a simple wooden podium. He was not in his usual perfect suit. He wore a plain dark jacket. To his left sat Eleanor Finch, her hands folded calmly in her lap. To his right sat Lily, her jaw set, her eyes fixed forward. Blake tapped the microphone. The room quieted. "My name is Blake Sterling," he began. His voice was clear but without its old sharp edge. 8 years ago, I committed crimes to make money. I bribed a city official to change zoning laws for a development called North Point. I hid the payments. I broke the law to gain a financial advantage. A wave of whispers swept the room. Camera flashes exploded. I did this because I believed then that money was the only measure of a person, that winning was everything. I was wrong. He looked down at the papers in front of him, then back at the crowd. "I am giving all the evidence of these crimes to the authorities today. I will cooperate fully. I will accept the consequences." A reporter shouted, "Does this mean you're stepping down from Sterling Capital?" "Yes," Blake said. "The company will be managed by an independent board. A large portion of my remaining personal wealth will be used to settle any fines and repay what was wrongly gained." Another reporter yelled, "What about the Finch Foundation? Is it a way to clean up your image?" Lily's hand tightened on the table, but she stayed silent. "No," Blake said, looking at the reporter. "The foundation is separate. Its money is safe. It is not mine. It belongs to the community. I started it for the wrong reasons. I wanted to fix a feeling. But the people there showed me that you cannot fix, you can only build. They are building something good. I do not want my mistakes to hurt that." He paused. The room was silent now, waiting. "I am sorry," Blake said. The words were simple. They were not part of a deal. "To the city, to the people I hurt, to the people I lied to, I am sorry." He stepped back from the podium. He did not take questions. He helped Eleanor to her feet, and together with Lily, they walked out of the bright lights and the noise. The legal process was long. It took many months. Blake's company was fined a large sum of money. He paid personal fines. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 1,000 hours of community service. He was not a billionaire anymore, but he was not poor. On the first day after the sentencing was over, Blake walked from the courthouse. He did not get into a car. He walked to the train station. He took the train to the Bronzeville stop. He walked to the garden. He was wearing jeans and a simple shirt. The sun was warm. Sam was there, watering. He looked up and nodded. "Heard you had a busy morning." "Yes," Blake said. "The soil is still here," Sam said, and went back to his work. Lily was inside the new community art studio, a small, bright building next to the garden that the foundation had helped build. She was hanging children's paintings on a wire. She saw him in the doorway. "It's done?" she asked. "It's done," Blake said. She put down a painting. "Your community service hours. You can do them here. We need someone to organize the supply closet. It's a mess, and the compost bins need turning every week. It's hard work." "I can do that," Blake said. Eleanor was sitting on the bench, watching a butterfly near the flowers. Blake sat next to her. "You lost many shiny things," Eleanor said. "I did," Blake agreed. "But you are not in a cage," she said. "No," he said. "I am not." He sat with her in the quiet sun. He watched Lily through the studio window. He saw Miguel run into the garden, showing his mother a new drawing. Blake stood up. He saw the new sign for the art program lying on the ground, ready to be hung. He walked over and picked up one end. "Lily," he called, "let's put this up." Lily came out. She picked up the other end of the sign. Together they lifted it and began to secure it to the front of the studio. It was not a big sign. It was wooden, painted by one of the children. Blake held it steady. He was not a king. He was not an emperor. He was a man holding a sign for a place he helped build. His hands were dirty. His heart was full. And for the first time, he knew exactly what he was worth.